Hello everyone, you're listening to The Right Side of Gaming. Today's topic is one that I see debated a lot, whether or not loot in Magic Legends is really random. By that I mean, can you get any loot to drop anywhere, or is some loot either only in or more likely to drop in either specific places or through specific activities? Now naturally, someone on Reddit has taken it upon themselves to start tracking their loot, which I do appreciate. I think they're also taking submissions from other people if they want to send it in. Now, the first few data sets they're kind of small, okay? I look at these and we're looking at maybe 100 for some of the areas and 50 to 60 for some of the others. Now, it's been a little while, but one of my classes I had to take for my major in undergrad was all about stats and how to do your research projects, sample sizes, all this fun stuff. And that's actually a pretty small sample. Plus, it's not exactly a balanced one. Of course, your numbers over here are probably going to be bigger than these if it is even, just because you've got twice the opportunity. And again, this is a fairly small sample size. Some of these are down in the 30s. It does get a little bit bigger. And then we finally get into a pretty decent sample size in the 2 to 300 range. It's still actually really small, but it's much more likely to give you some information than some of the others. And you do see some numbers kind of jumping out. You see, your 5s, 6s, 10s even. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's more likely. So I'm going to give you a real life example. If you were to flip a quarter, you have a 50% chance of getting heads, 50% chance of getting tails, because we're just going to ignore that whole, well, what if the quarter lands on its side? Okay, let's not get into that right now. So let's say you have a 50% chance, heads and tails. And you were to, say, flip that quarter 50 times or 100 times. I had a professor that did that. He had one data set where he flipped it, I forget exactly how many times, but it was a good chunk. And another data set where he just came up with it on his own. People got it wrong when they asked which was which, because we would see, say, these long runs of like heads, 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 and one of them, and say, oh, well, obviously that one's fake. Believe it or not, that's actually more realistic. You are more likely to get runs of heads or tails when flipping a coin, because it's an even chance every time. It's not dependent on your previous coin flips. The same thing is happening in here. As far as we know, the loot that drops isn't dependent on what other loot you've gotten. You don't necessarily get a higher chance to get pieces you haven't gotten in a while, or something like that. So while there are some pretty sizable numbers in some of these, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're only going to find that piece of gear there, or that it's much more likely. Again, this is like, what, 1 in 20? I mean, that's not necessarily, I don't know, I'd have to sit down and figure out the margin of error for all this stuff, but that doesn't really seem too outlandish. And some pieces are obviously going to be rarer than others. We see some of the class-oriented sets, the Adept, Lava Runner, March, things like that. Now, they're a little rare, but that's understandable. Some sets of gear are going to be rarer than others. So the fact that they're only appearing, or they only appeared in a couple of these, especially with some very small sample sizes, doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only place you can get them. Right now, none of these numbers really suggest, oh, you have to go here for this piece of gear, or you have better odds. It's all still pretty well in line, especially when you consider that some of these have higher sample sizes than some of these others. So what does that mean? Well, if you're trying to find a piece of gear, chances are whatever you're looking for, you're going to have the exact same odds somewhere else. At least until we get enough data or something that proves otherwise. So what are you going to do? Well, if there's something you're trying to grind for, absolutely okay to go look somewhere else or to change up your activities. But wait, you think, didn't you just say the odds are the same everywhere else? Yeah, as far as we know. Chances are your odds of getting, a certain pair of boots in an ordeal are the same as getting them in the story. Your odds of getting a piece of gear on Gavony are going to be the same as they are on Shiv, or Talaria, or Benalia, or Dazim. So if something's not dropping for you, it's okay to switch because at worst, you're going to have the exact same odds. So until we prove otherwise, it's not like your odds are going to get worse if you switch something up. And if there is, somehow some underlying system we don't know about, okay, your odds are either going to be the same or better. That said, I think we're still at the point where, if you want to, you can just play however you like. And I think your odds of getting gear are going to be the same regardless. What if it makes you feel better? Or if you just want to take that shot, it's okay to try something else. Really all I had for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you'd like to leave a like, comment, subscribe, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too. I understand. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.